Okay,
I'm
thanks.
going to mute everybody to start. You can unmute yourselves when you want to talk or scream something out. Okay.
What? To Nancy.
Everybody gets muted.
I'll move
All right, here you go. Now, I have to unmute Michael. Okay.
Okay.
Michael, I'm going to make you co-host so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I thought you did already.
Thought
You
I
said
did.
you were going to.
No, Kevin, I made co-host. All right, you're on. Everybody's looking at you.
Okay. Well, if this is the first meeting you're attending of the Democratic Club of Delray Beach, I can tell you all you need to know about the club in one sentence. Like the late, great Paul Wellstone, we belong to the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party. As to the election, 8 months ago, when I wrote in our newsletter, the Delray Democrat, that November 3rd is an existential election, it was already a cliche, but it wasn't an overstatement. I just got a t-shirt from the Biden campaign that says, "Battle for the soul of the nation." That's not an overstatement either. In fact, it's an understatement. This is a battle for the future of the planet. And as we face that, I'm reminded of the warning issued by America's greatest citizen, Dr. Martin Luther King, almost 60 years ago. He said at the March on Washington, "We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. We're confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action." You may have seen the other day in the Washington Post the quote from an unidentified four-star general who worked for Donald Trump. And he referred to Trump as, quote, "the most loathsome individual I ever met." To put that in perspective, let me add that next to Trump, George W. Bush appears thoughtful and compassionate. Ronald Reagan appears coherent and focused. And Richard Nixon appears honest and forgiving. They just keep getting worse, don't they? Michael Moore likes to say that it all goes back to Nixon. But when Republican leaders told him it was over, he left quietly because whatever he was, Nixon understood and worked within our institutions. Does anyone think Donald Trump cares for our institutions or will go quietly? Can anyone name a Republican leader with the integrity, courage, or honor to deliver the message to Trump that the jig's up? Not Moscow Mitch. So we have our work cut out for us. Donald Trump's going to fight tooth and nail to stay in office because the alternative could be to go to prison. He's hiring some 50,000 goons, he calls them poll watchers, to intimidate people voting in person on November 3rd. And he's trying to destroy the post office to prevent our vote by mail ballots from being counted. We've all heard the nightmare scenario where he declares victory on election night because he's leading in key states and our vote by mail ballots have yet to be counted. That said, it seems to me we can and we must overcome all these barriers right here in Florida, beginning with the last. The way to prevent Trump from claiming victory on election night is to ensure Florida is called for Joe Biden that night. Since it's virtually impossible for Trump to get to 271 electoral votes without Florida, if Florida is called for Biden that night, it becomes impossible for Trump to win, much less to claim to have won before all the votes are counted. In Florida, the first votes to be counted are the vote by mail ballots. And that means we don't have to worry, as in other states, for the VBMs and the late arriving VBMs to be received, assuming that everyone who's voting by mail submits their ballots early enough. In Florida, if it comes in after 7 p.m. on election night, it's not counted. So Kevin can tell us about how the post office will be processing the ballots, but it seems to me 1 month is ample time for them to move through the mails. The vote by mail ballots are being sent out on September 24th. So, you know, you can expect to receive them hopefully by the end of September, early October. And if they're mailed back immediately, or better yet, they can be delivered directly to the supervisor of election. We have a satellite on Congress Avenue, 1 traffic light south of Atlantic. And the early voting sites have lock boxes, as does the SOE sites. So you can drop yours right there, and it goes direct. There's no question of it being received. We're going to be organizing, and we'll talk about that another time, and precinct leaders will be talking about that, gathering up vote by mail ballots and bringing them over to the supervisor of election. So the other alternative is voting early. Some people like to vote early. The early voting is not going to be the huge problem that election day is going to be. So there's 2 weeks of early voting. If you're registered for vote by mail, you can bring your ballot there and you can cast your vote directly there. Those are the mechanics. But we need to motivate people as well. Everything is going to depend on a massive turnout. So massive that Trump, I mean, he can do anything, but it's not going to work challenging it. And we need to motivate people to vote for Biden. That's a big thing. You know, I mean, what we have going for us this year that we didn't have in 2016 is that people truly have, those people that didn't know better in 2016, hopefully have learned by now what a despicable creature he is. And there are a lot of Republicans that are not going to vote for him or going to vote for Joe Biden. But Joe Biden is a fundamentally decent person. And that in itself would be enough to vote for him. But in addition, this is a crossroads election. He has the opportunity to be a transformational president. I mean, it's ironic, but Republicans never waste a good crisis, and we shouldn't now. We should be pushing for a Green New Deal. We should be pushing for infrastructure repair. That creates jobs in America, and we certainly need them now. But the other way to motivate people is to get out on the streets. I got a call earlier this week from a guy named Dan Valdez. Never heard of him before. Someone referred him to me. And he put together in a couple of days a group of people that showed up at downtown Swinton in Atlantic, waving signs. Well, they probably left because it ended at 7, but from 5 to 7, and the response was terrific. You know, the cars, people drove by, honking their horns. It really, it's motivating. It's affirming to see other people out there. And there were maybe 1 or 2 cars that shouted stuff. But tomorrow, we're going to be out there. We have about 10 people already signed up, and I'm hoping that people here tonight will consider coming out. It'll be from 5 to 7. We have the signs that you can wave. We're going to have literature to be given out. We really need to do this. So that's my intro. Is Jim Bonfiglio in yet, David? I don't see him. All right. Well, let's then just move ahead to the main attraction. We can, if Jim comes, we will, we'll have him speak afterwards. If you're not familiar with Jim Bonfiglio, he's the guy that lost by 32 votes in the midterms. They stopped the counting. They did recounts in the governor's race, in the Senate race, and in his race, District 89, House District 89 in the Florida House of Representatives, and he lost by 32 votes. We need to get him to Tallahassee. Okay, that said, Kevin Young is the president of Palm Beach Area Local 749. He's been an officer of the local for the past 6 years and a union member for 41 years. He's worked for the United States Post Office for 38 of those years. His union represents about 700 members, and it's not just Palm Beach County, it goes from Delray all the way up to Fort Pierce and around Lake Okeechobee. Kevin was born and raised in West Palm Beach, and he's a lifelong Democrat. Kevin, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. I just want to start out by saying that I guess I'll start talking about Postmaster General. Yeah, in his first month as Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy rolled out policies that severely curtailed and delayed mail service. These changes were unveiled through stand-up talks, memos, and directives to the managers calling for slower mail service, reductions in retail hours, removal of processing equipment, overall reductions in work hours, and changes to transportation and mail and cuts to customer service. DeJoy was appointed on June 15th and has since made controversial changes at the post office to cut costs, which employees and unions agree are tactics to undermine the agency as President Trump seeks re-election in November. Trump himself is admitted to wanting to starve the Postal Service of funds so that mail-in voting will become difficult, as tens of millions of Americans are expected to vote by mail during the coronavirus pandemic. Trump said on August 13th that he opposes providing additional funding to the Postal Service to make it difficult to deliver mail-in ballots. And I said additional funding. And this is kind of amazing because the Postal Service has received no funding from the federal government since the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970. We get nothing from them. The Postal Service carries out this mission and its universal service obligation without taxpayer dollars, normally running on postage and Postal Service revenues. In July, DeJoy instructed postal employees to leave mail behind if it delayed carriers from their routes, and he prohibited employees from working overtime. On August the 7th, DeJoy announced a management hiring freeze and is planning to seek early retirements from the higher-up officials. The culture of the Postal Service, from when I started to the way it is now, has always been to get the mail and packages to customers promptly. It is in the DNA of postal workers to get that mail out. We're dedicated to our mission of providing prompt, reliable, and efficient postal services, sorting and delivering mail to 160 million addresses every day. That includes medicine, financial transactions, retirement checks, census forms, catalogs, magazines, voter information, mail ballots, e-commerce packages, and vital supplies, just to name a few. Sometimes that means overtime, or the use of part-time workers or hiring additional full-time workers. The directives proposed by DeJoy will degrade services, create hardships for customers, and demoralize workers. Postal workers and customers are already witnessing delays all across the country. Letter carriers are being forced out to do their routes without being given enough time to complete their office duties, leaving those tasks to gradually pile up, again, causing further delays. These actions undermine the confidence of the people in the Postal Service, including the vital issue of vote by mail and the handling of election ballots. The Postal Service has struggled financially since 2006 with budget cuts and measures imposed by Congress. See, in 2006, Congress passed a law requiring the Postal Service to pre-fund retirement health care costs at $5.5 billion per year for employees 75 years into the future. Most of those people have not even been born yet. They're still. This directive applies to no other federal agency or independent corporation, only the Postal Service. Since Congress's actions, the Postal Service has reduced its number of employees by about 200,000 workers nationwide to cut costs. This pre-funding created a deficit within the Postal Service over the past 10 to 12 years, and the coronavirus pandemic this year has hurt the agency further as more revenue declines. Postal employees are already working understaffed due to call-outs and leave requests by employees due to the pandemic. Postal Service, the employees there are suffering from the coronavirus also. I hear from other union members across the country that mail and packages are piling up because they don't have enough workers. They don't have enough as usual to handle the mail volume. And the Postal Service continually not hiring any additional ones. Postal management has continually eliminated jobs when employees move to other jobs within the Postal Service, or if they retire. They want the carriers out on the street by 10 a.m., and in some cases, they want them back by 4:30 p.m. If an employee is not back on time, they get written up, whether they've finished their route or not. After massive public resistance to his changes, and I thank you all for this, and the outpouring of general support and defense of the public postal service, Postmaster DeJoy was compelled to announce he will temporarily halt some of those changes. As of August 24th, when DeJoy appeared before Congress, he ceased all changes until after the November election, with the exception of the trucks leaving on time, whether they have any mail in them or not. Temporary halting of some of the policies until after the November election is a step in the right direction, but not nearly good enough. The need for quality mail service does not end in November. The need for quality services is not just about mail ballots, but about everything we do from medicines to vital supplies. All the regressive policies should be reversed and permanently eliminated. If you remember back in March, the CARE stimulus package that was provided, it provided over $500 billion of relief to private corporations without a dime of financial relief to the public postal service. They did offer, or they did have available $10 billion of a treasury loan, but that's more debt for the Postal Service. Postal Service doesn't need any more debt. Postal workers have been successfully handling vote by mail for generations. It is tried and tested, safe and secure, and virtually free of fraud. It's even more popular with 1 in every 4 voters in 2016 voting through the mail. More will do so in the pandemic. The Postal Service has an immense capacity to handle an influx of absentee ballots, already handling almost 500 million pieces of mail a day, routinely handles national mailings and peaks in service. You need to remember, this is not the United States Postal Business. This is the United States Postal Service. I thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, that 2006 bill is just so outrageous. No,
Yes.
no, $5 billion a year. The post office would be, swimming in black ink without that. I'm going to open up the floor for questions, but I'm going to start with one, and that is, we don't really know what the store. Well, first of all, how anyone can claim that it improves efficiency and it improves the bottom line of the post office to take out the high-speed sorting machines, and how somebody can destroy, if I'm correct in understanding,
Yes.
those machines without being prosecuted for it, really is beyond me. But the question is the whereabouts and the status of those machines. Obviously, you don't know around the country, but in the area that you're familiar with, are those machines, have they been destroyed? How are they being rebuilt? Are they being used? That's the question.
And what do they do?
What do they do? Well, those machines, we refer to them as their DBCSs, which is delivery barcode sorters. And we can put a tray of mail in there, we can scan, and it usually scans about between 20 and 31,000 pieces of mail an hour. And it runs them to the proper bin and sorts the mail. So it can go straight to the carrier, or, if they're doing carrier mail, it'll go there. If not, we may be doing outgoing mail, so they may be sending it to New York or California or something to that effect. But it reads the barcode, it reads the zip code, and it sends it to where it's supposed to go. Within the last month, I'd say month and a half, we have had 2 of those machines, the DBCSs. We've had 2 of them dismantled and removed. And within the last, while DeJoy was being peppered by Congress, they were ordered to dismantle 2 more machines. So on Monday, they started dismantling them. On Wednesday, I think he went into against Congress. And at that point, he said he's going to stop all dismantling. And so they stopped working on the machine. They didn't put it back together. They kind of just roped it off. Nobody can go over there. So they're non-usable. So within the last month and a half, 4 machines have been dismantled.
And out of how many? I mean, do you have?
We still have about 20 of those machines.
Oh, good.
So we do have, and we do well. And the clerks that are over there working those machines, they know how to run them, and they run them well.
I have one, since I can't raise my hand because I'm a co-host. And people, if you have questions, use the option to raise your hands. If you can't find them, you can just unmute yourself and start yelling, and we'll probably hear it. I'll ask one question first from Kate. It says, Kevin, do you have a sense of how much longer the average piece of mail takes to get to its destination?
Well, it really depends on where the destination is. If we mail it here in West Palm Beach and it's going to Delray, it should no more than 2 days. And as a matter of fact, policy used to be it was there the very next day, but 2 days within the same area. Say going to California, it should be no more than 4 days.
So
Wow.
beginning, say, in a month or so, when people are starting to put the mail, they vote by mails in, how fast are they likely to get? I mean, those are all going to go locally. They're somewhere in Palm Beach County.
Right.
Theoretically, they're going, elsewhere to Palm Beach County. So I would think that wouldn't be a huge problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, it should not be, especially with the way that supervisor elections made their envelopes. We have a number 10 envelope, which is a normal size envelope where you can mail stuff. And we have what we refer to as flats, which is magazine size envelopes. About something like this size. The supervisor of elections made it in between there. So they're easily identifiable when you see them. They kind of stick up over the other ones, the number 10 envelopes. But once we see them, they get pulled out and they get identified, and they are placed in separate from all the rest of the mail. It gets its own tray.
All right, now here's my actual question. Along with destroying the machines, he also reassigned 20 or 24 top officials to other jobs. What was that about? And I'm assuming that hasn't been undone.
It hasn't been undone, no. He never gave much rhyme or reason for it. I guess the main issue was the Postal Service in his mind was not working properly. He had to cut, and that's where he just went. He went right after the bigwigs there.
All right. I mean, normally workers aren't too happy with the bigwigs anyway, so I think maybe
Yes.
hair up their heads were taken off. Okay, Char wanted to know, at what point are the images for informed delivery taken? I'm starting to notice a 1 or 2 day delay for items that were previously delivered on the same day as the informing email. Maybe you want to explain what that is for people like me who don't know what informed mail is. And then,
Well, informed mail is where if one signs up for the informed mail, like you would have to sign up for the informed mail, and I suggest everybody do it, because if not, somebody else could sign you up for informed mail.
oh,
And so they would know what's going into your mailbox on a daily basis. So the informed mail lets you know what will be in your mailbox that day. And it runs through the machines, and it gets that information out, and it gets to you via email.
all right. Her question was if she's starting to notice a 1 or 2 day delays for things that were previously delivered on the same day.
Yeah.
So, okay. Who else has questions? Don't hold them all back.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Oh, Bonnie.
Unmute, you got to unmute, Pete.
Okay. Okay,
Hello,
okay,
Yeah.
you're on now. You're on. Go for it.
Kevin.
Yes.
I think we all understand the problem. Let's talk about the solution. What can we do?
Vote.
What can you? Yeah, well, voting is
Not gonna
number one.
We're a postal family. If I must tell you that, I have a very close connection to the Postal Service.
His son works for the post.
I have, my son is a manager in an IT capacity,
Okay.
Postal Service. So he and I talk about this a lot. We've spoken about it many times before. What I want to know is what can we do and what can we encourage our friends and neighbors to do to solve this problem?
The one thing is what was done today between 5 and 7 o'clock down there in Delray with the, was that a picket that I understood you guys were doing?
That was just if you're referring to Swinton and Atlantic.
Yes, that was it.
It was just a sign waving, you know.
Okay, for Biden?
The Biden, Harris,
Mhm.
Bonfiglio, and just to, it wasn't focused at the post office, and that was going to be one of my questions, and my wife just handed me a piece of paper with the same question.
Uh-huh.
What can we do specifically to help you guys? I mean, you know, whether there's whether we can organize a protest that is specific to the post office. You know, I thought about going up to Rubio's local office,
Right.
you know, with signs trying to shame him into doing something about it. Not that he has any shame, but
Exactly.
It requires shame. June has a question.
Yeah, I was going to ask what other people have asked, which is what we can specifically do. Besides the signs, is there anything that the union has done in the past on other issues, of course, that is effective?
Well, we have done some picketing at different post offices. And just, informational pickets. We not going on strike or anything to that effect. We're not blocking traffic. We're not trying to be rowdy or anything to that effect. We're just walking with signs, trying to inform the public. It's been a month or two since we had our last one. We did have one up in Jupiter, I do believe it was last month. But that might be something to do that. And of course, everybody can always buy a book of stamps for us too.
Oh, yeah.
And a follow up to that, please.
Yes.
I assume that you're not allowed to have people work overtime without paying them.
That's correct.
Is there any mechanism, or could we create one on a, Michael might know, for temporary basis in court, that would allow your people to volunteer their time at this crucial time, let's say from September 24th, to the election, at overtime on a temporary basis? Because this is so outrageous.
It is.
I mean, this is no different than if Russia started to attack us.
Yeah.
And Trump said, no, I'm not going to let the troops, do it, hold them back. So, I believe a lot of your people would willingly do it if they could.
It worked the overtime.
Yes.
We would definitely, we'd have what we refer to as an overtime desired list. And the people that want the overtime, they sign it all the time, and they're volunteering anytime there is a need for overtime. But do understand, most of the issues that the Postmaster General brought out or tried to implement, he cut back on. So the overtime is not an issue at this point for the employees. We are working the overtime, and all
Right.
that is going well.
But can he prevent you or your people from doing it just on a volunteer basis without pay?
No.
It's illegal.
It's illegal. Yes. No, that won't happen.
Okay.
There would be safety issues all over the place if an employee went out there off the clock working and they were injured.
Sure.
That would create major problems. So, no, they could not work off the clock.
Peter?
Peter, yeah.
Oh, Bonnie, who actually is coming in to take these machines?
Well, they have the maintenance people. They're directing them to go and take the machines, and they're giving them directions. They're giving them an order, and our regular mechanics are doing that. I like that.
They've been ordered.
Our regular mechanics are doing that, but they try to do it as slowly as they possibly can. And when he stopped, they tried putting them back together, but one of the managers grabbed the scanner, and they weren't able to use the machine.
Peter, you're next.
Thank you. When you said that as soon as they recognize the ballot, it goes into a separate tray.
Yes.
What security is being provided for those mail-in ballots in those separate trays?
Well, we have no additional security other than what we do have. We have Postal Inspection Service watching over all the time. We have cameras everywhere, and that's our normal business day. We have when the customers come to the window service and they mail one of those envelopes, it has that tray, and it's right there next to the other tray, and with regular normal letters in there, birthday cards and stuff like that. But all of the every year we have an election. We have a system. The postal employees know the system, and they follow that system every time. And it is in our blood to get the ballots in there to the election campaign material. We have to get that out too, and that might be something, if we didn't get that out, the man that lost by 32 votes, that could have been an issue right there. If his material, election pamphlets had not gotten out. So,
Okay.
but we make sure everything gets out.
Okay, Lynn wanted to know, is there a way to put aside the third-class mail, magazines, junk mail? I like those magazines. And keep the important ballots on the forefront. In other words,
The third-class mail, the companies pay to have that go out too.
Right.
So all the mail has to go. The first class mail does take priority. The third class mail, that's like an extra day or two. So that kind of set aside, but the first class mail, which is the ballots, they would take priority.
Okay, and from Joan Katz, what should be the very last day voters mail their ballots to arrive at SOE by 11/3?
Good question, Joan.
It's a good question.
Tomorrow.
Everybody is saying like a week before, but as I said, they are identifiable. And the Postal Service, we make runs to the Supervisor of Elections office when we have it. The Supervisor of Elections comes to the main office and picks up ballots that we have there. And I would venture to say that we could go the Friday before the election, Friday to Saturday before the election. That still gives 3 days for it to get
Wow.
by 7
I
o'clock.
wouldn't wait.
Yeah, no, we're going to be telling people, a month.
Okay. We
because
would
there's
definitely
no reason why
appreciate
they
that.
can't do that. And
No,
then
there isn't.
it makes your job easier.
It really does. If they're going to be mailing them out this month, I don't see why they should wait the whole month of October, plus they get into November for that.
And I don't see why it should take anyone more than 30 seconds to go down D, straight down.
Exactly. And they don't even have to put postage on. At least they didn't have to for the primary election. As postage paid, you just put it in the envelope and mail it back.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you. I had one more question. I read an article in the paper, I think it was a post office in Fort Lauderdale, where there was an abundance of ballots that weren't going to get out. And a postal worker called the SOE, and they sent somebody to pick them up. Can you see that happening at other locations?
It is always possible. Stuff like that's always possible. But again, it must have been set aside in an unforeseeable place. But I'm glad the postal employee did, get in touch with them and take care of that.
Thank you.
Jack and Anthony?
I
Catherine?
heard that the mail-in ballots do require postage.
Thanks, Aaron.
It depends where you are, not in Florida.
Yeah, in
Not
Palm
in
Beach
Palm
County.
Beach County.
Palm Beach County, it did not. That's right. For the primary. Prior to this election, it always has required postage. But the primary was the first one.
Broward County was always postage paid.
Okay. Are there bad actors in the post office that might be Trump supporters that could get away with
Yeah.
sabotage?
No, they are. We have, like I said before, we have cameras everywhere in the back. We have postal inspectors up in this thing. Nobody sees where they are. They're kind of up in the ceilings. They have areas where they can walk around and just look out little windows, little vents and stuff like that, just to watch the employees. And they record, they tape everything. So
they're the existing postal inspectors and not a new bunch put in by the new people in power.
no, they are.
But also, since these are not the primary envelopes showing D and R, no one knows what's in that envelope. So they could be taking Trump envelopes. So I don't think they would do that.
They could, yes.
A lot of the mail-in votes, I think, are
Republican.
going to the Democrats. But okay, thank you.
So
Thank you.
I have a question. I've heard people say that we shouldn't be concerned about the post office's inability to deliver these on time because after all, they deliver all the Christmas mail ahead of time. However, based on what you're saying, what DeJoy is saying, I don't know if that's really an excuse that holds water anymore. What do you think? Is that true?
I really don't think so. I Googled it earlier today, and Google said we had approximately 160 million voters in the United States, registered voters in the United States. That's about half the amount of mail we do for the whole day. We do that for the whole day. So, and I know all these are not going to be mailed on the same day. So we should have no problem. We handle Christmas cards and everything like that at Christmas time. So I believe the postal employees would be able to handle it. They always have.
Okay. Great.
There are glitches some places here and there. Every once in a while, you'll hear about that. You always hear about the bad things. You never hear about the good things.
Right.
Do
Okay,
you know,
thank you.
Kevin,
Thank
in
you.
other, in other areas in Florida, Broward County, Miami-Dade, in terms of the high-speed sorters disappearing, in terms of them being as comfortable as you are that it's not going to be a problem? I mean, these three counties are what's going to win Florida for Joe Biden.
But
It's true.
yeah, but that's not, the problem really so much isn't Florida, because we've been doing this for, years.
Mhm.
No, I know.
I'm actually more worried about other parts of the country that don't have the system in place.
Right,
They're
that's
setting-
true. But if we win Florida,
It's over.
and then it's game over. And they're going to be trying to do everything they can to ensure that we don't win.
Particularly these three counties, yes.
Yeah. And I'm in contact with the local presidents for the Broward local and for
Right.
the Miami local. And, we all feel comfortable about it.
Right.
I talk to them at least once, sometimes twice a week. And we're very comfortable with the systems we have in place and being able to get the mail out, get it to the supervisor of elections. And yeah, we should have a nice, smooth election here in Florida.
Oh, that's a guaranteed nod.
Yes.
I mean, that's it.
Can I ask a question?
Might not be your fault, but no.
No.
Can I ask a question from the other side, the management side? It's been my experience when I was working that every organization had fat, had bloat, and it had procedures that could be changed. So are you saying that the joy is 100% incorrect, that there's nothing that should be changed, nothing that should be eliminated? Because I really find that hard to believe.
No, I'm sure there's changes are needed. And there are some managers that have been there, and I was a temporary supervisor at one time in the early 80s. And when I came up my first night, they came to me and told me, don't even try to change anything. Everything's been tried. This is the only way it can be done. And I know for a fact that that is so totally wrong. So yes, things, even if they just need to be fine-tuned, changes are inevitable.
Isn't
But
it
the
the
big
timing
problem,
that's
Jack,
suspect?
the big problem with that, while it's certainly true, when the post office is attacked as being inefficient and it's money losing, you multiply $5.5 billion times what, 10 years. And that's how much money that they had to remove from their bottom line because they were required by Congress to do something that no other company in the United States is required to do. So yes, it looks like, oh gee, we gotta, they're being paid too much. We gotta cut corners here because the bottom line is a mass of red. But if it's a mass of red because what company that had $5.5 billion deducted from their bottom line every year would still, be in the black?
Why did Obama do something when he was president? Could he have changed this?
Who?
Obama.
No,
Obama.
no. When it happened, Jack, was in the what do they call it? It was after the 2006 midterms, the lame duck session in 2006. The Democrats got the House and the Senate back in 2006, and in the lame duck session, they passed this bill, and Bush signed it. So that's how it happened. Now, I mean, could Obama? I mean, Obama faced monolithic opposition to virtually everything he tried from the Republican side, and once he lost the House in the midterms, that just wasn't going to happen. The interesting thing here, though, is that DeJoy was talking about that. That's one of the things he wants to get rid of. that obligation. Now, why do you think he wants to get rid of it? Not because he likes the workers. He wants to get rid of it so that it's making money so they can sell it off to private companies. That's why he wants to do it. And, you know, we should get rid of that, but we should keep the post office the way it is. Anyway.
Yeah, that's something that scares us all about, you know, trying to sell off the profitable portions of the Postal Service. You know, and rural areas, they'd be out of luck. You know, they would probably have to be traveling 20 miles to get their mail. And if they were getting delivered every day, I don't know. I don't think the privatization, they would deliver to every address every day. They would not do that.
Hi. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but there are plenty of places in the United States that FedEx, UPS will not deliver.
Right.
Correct.
If you live on an island in the middle of Puget Sound or a mountain in Idaho, but the Postal Service will deliver it. Kevin, what is your jurisdiction?
My jurisdiction, we go from Delray all the way up to Fort Pierce and all around Lake Okeechobee. We have 61 different post offices.
Okay. I just want to tell you that my son is a member of the American Postal Workers Union. Mm-hmm. And you can get these online, by the way, if I may show you this.
Oh, yeah.
Support I like that. The Postal Service. And I don't know if you want to get really crazy. There's this one that says, no rain, no, what does it say? No rain, nor wind, nor dead of night, nor fascism.
Yeah. Who funds the Postal Service?
You can go online and get these. Go online and get these, or get this one and put it on the back of your car.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, get them. Go online and get them.
Darren.
Rain or
So in addition to buying stamps, which you mentioned, Kevin, I know on social media people have been encouraging sending letters, actually stamped letters and postcards, to the White House, to senators, especially Republicans. Would that, at this point, just complicate things because there's more mail? Or
oh, no. That would not complicate things. Trust me, the Postal Service can handle the increase in volume.
Yes.
So would that be helpful to the post office for people to start doing that on mail?
Hopefully it would bring attention to our cause to the Republican senators and congressmen who just, you know, all they want to think about is what am I going to do for my state, my county, or something to that effect.
Possibly buying postage. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
No, thank you.
Anyone else?
Other questions?
Okay, wait a minute. Is this?
Oh, Roger, yeah.
Is this pension money kept in a trust fund, or is the government pilfering from it? It's not actually pension money, it's healthcare expenses, I think.
That's correct. It's healthcare expenses.
He wants to know whether it's actually being kept in a lockbox or is it?
You know, they have never answered that question for us. We have asked that question a few times, and we've never gotten a response for that. So I do not know. I do not know the answer to that question.
It's probably going to build the wall.
Or it's like the Social Security when they had the Blue Ribbon Commission back in the 80s to save Social Security. And then there wasn't a lockbox, and they used the money to fund the Reagan tax cuts. So people don't know there's, you know, this huge IOU the government has signed to Social Security, but the money's not there.
I did steal that line from Al Gore. I will admit it.
Which line?
The one about the lockbox.
Mm-hmm.
That was Al Gore, I think, was talking about the Social Security lockbox. Anyone else?
Well, Kevin, thank you so much. June.
If this goes up online, by the way, Kevin?
Pardon me?
We allowed to put a recording of this up?
That's not a problem. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Good. No.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Well, thank you, everyone, for coming. I hope that some of you will be able to come out tomorrow between 5 and 7. at Swinton and Atlantic. It's, you know, it's a good, it's a more morale booster, not only for the people that drive by in the cars, but for the people that are standing there waving the signs. You'll feel good about it. We're doing something to get rid of
The most.
Sandy just said lice. A scrofulous toad. Okay. Scrofulous, I had to look up. Somebody once referred to the New York Post after Rupert Murdoch took it over as a scrofulous rag. Scrofulous is a medical term, but it also has another meaning. It's morally contaminated. It's like covered with boils, and that's, you know, that's how I think of our president. So,
Hello.
okay.
Why don't we don't have boats, do we?
Have what?
We don't
Boats,
have
no.
boats.
He's referring
No,
to
no, we can't do a
Texas.
boat parade.
He's
No, we can do
referring
a
to
bike
Austin.
parade.
We don't have boats.
We
He's
can do
referring
bike
to
parade.
Austin, Texas.
Okay.
No,
What
our
does that
signs won't
mean?
sink.
Well, you got that right.
Let's just hope that that's a metaphor, okay?
You bet.
I
Yeah.
love the sinking one. You're talking about the sinking ones?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
They
pretty-
should all sing.
Agreed.
So listen, may I say that if Florida is the key, please, on behalf of the rest of the nation, get this right.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, well, you know, we moved here in 2014, and I thought, great, my vote counts for the first time in my life after living in New York. Okay, it counted. It counted. 2014, Scott was reelected governor. 2016, Rubio was reelected and Trump was elected. 2018, Scott went to the Senate and DeSantis went to Tallahassee. You know, it's about time that we get this right.
Excuse me while I throw up.
Yeah.
Hey, excuse me, this doesn't have anything to do with the Postal Service.
I do have a question for everybody. Are you all registered to vote by mail? So you have that option?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am.
All right.
And I keep getting texts from, I got a text while we were sitting here from somebody else saying, are you registered? Are you voting? Are
I
you
get one every day.
I get them every
every day.
day. So yeah, somebody's working the text system.
And remember, for the primary election, your ballots that you mailed in, you could track them.
Oh, yeah.
And you can do that, and you can do that now for
Yes.
the general election also.
Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute. On that note, hang on a second. I forgot. We're going to launch a poll. All right.
Yeah, I think it was just decided,
Well,
right?
hang on. No. Everybody, this is fun. You get to answer the poll. I don't know how many of you have been using Zoom. Here you go. You'll get it now.
Oh, planning on voting. Okay. Yeah.
How many multiple ways can I do?
Yeah.
You get to vote twice.
Yeah. Vote early and often. I don't know. Early voting or vote by mail. That's.
Well, we're voting by mail, but we're bringing it to the SOE and putting it in the Dropbox.
That's
Yeah.
what my
We do
other one.
that
We got a
too. We
couple
did
that
that
haven't
too.
voted yet. Almost complete. All the votes are being tabulated as we speak. Okay, here we go. Share results. There you go. Early voting, vote by mail. One is doing it another way. That's interesting.
What's other?
My other is that I'm going to take my ballot to the lockbox at the voting facility.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
what we.
That's
Okay.
vote by mail, actually,
That's vote by
Yeah.
mail, though. Yeah, okay.
technically.
So I just wanted to play with the poll. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't do it earlier, and we still have a lot more people.
And just for everyone to remember that if you get a vote by mail ballot, you can still decide to vote in person on the 3rd if you so choose, you just bring that ballot in and they'll swap it for you for an in-house ballot.
And you can do that early voting
Early
too.
voting,
I
same
did
thing
that
for early voting.
the
You can-
first
But
time.
you should.
But you have to have that ballot.
Yeah.
Actually, we asked Wendy Link at a meeting about a year ago about it, whether you needed to bring it, and she said no. But in fact, it's half correct, because if you bring it, you can vote. If you don't bring it, they try to determine if you voted, and if they can't determine whether you voted or not, then you have to cast a provisional ballot, which is not something you want to be doing. So if you have a VBM, you know, don't misplace it, or if you do, get a replacement from them.
Are you saying that if you have a requested vote by mail, you must bring that?
If you want to vote
Yes.
at the polls, you must bring that, because they want to see that you haven't used it. You know, that you're not going to vote a second time at the polls.
They will swap it out.
Yes.
For one of the for the at the polls
To
ballot.
get that information out there then.
Okay,
For
we
a
have
lot of people, because most of my friends are planning to early vote, even those who can vote by mail.
Well, it probably
vary by
it's
state.
probably different in different
Okay,
counties.
I'll check it out in Texas.
But it stands to reason that, and that's why Trump was saying, vote by mail and then go to the polls. We'll see if it works.
Right.
If you have if they have you on record as having received a vote by mail ballot, they're not going to let you vote at the polls regularly unless you turn that ballot over to them, at least here. And I would assume that, other jurisdictions would do the same thing, because otherwise you do risk double vote.
I'm going to check that out and make sure my friends know.
Two more interesting comments have come in. What's being done to rally our senior citizens, particularly those who are in independent living facilities? And that's a very good question, because of course we can't go visit them, or at least we couldn't.
Very good point.
I don't know how
If they are registered, as Democrats, they are getting phone calls from people like me and others saying, "Have you registered to vote by mail?" And and the messages are left with the details of how they can register to vote by mail. I always give my own personal phone number in case they have any questions, to encourage them to do that. But no, there's you can go online. Char has all the information she can send you about signing up to make these phone calls.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the time I leave voicemail messages. But I've had some interesting conversations with some interesting people, and I've had some people very, very grateful, because they don't know. Most people won't say, "Okay, I want to vote by mail," or "I'm afraid to go to the polling place." They don't know what to do next. They don't know where to go to set that up. So we have to educate them how easy it is to do that. And even if you don't have a computer, you can do it on with a telephone line. So it's very easy. And basically, anytime I do talk to anybody I have known for any many minutes, I always ask them, "Have you done that also?" Because everyone has to have that option.
My mother is at an independent living facility, and she is voting by mail and has voted by mail. And she told me she's getting calls from Republicans about voting.
Me too.
And I don't understand how that happens, because she's a registered Democrat. Are they calling?
We get the phone numbers of everybody, whether they're, when you get stuff out of van, it does, you can poll Republicans as well as Democrats.
Oh, okay.
There are also, things that show how you lean, how often you voted and stuff. So they know, they can target people pretty accurately, even based on magazines you get,
Yeah. Then, do the people who have called her, do they have a Russian accent?
My next door neighbors
I
do.
don't. She said that she's just been hanging up on them, and I said, "Why don't you just give them a piece of your mind and ask them, what's wrong with them?"
Joan Katz has an interesting. It's a real-time system at the polls. You don't have to bring the ballot with you.
That is true, Michael. You definitely do not have to bring your ballot with you.
Where?
Leave to the polls and you can vote. It's a real-time system. They can check almost immediately if the ballot's been received. If there is a crossover and you did mail it, the first ballot received at the supervisor's office is the one that counts. I've been working at the polls for 17 years and we did about 4 or 5 years ago, and Wendy has actually told us that you do not have to bring your ballot with you.
That's not
That's not what I've just read today.
In Palm Beach County.
Yeah, on their website about voting by mail.
right. The SOE
Joan,
website doesn't say that.
Yeah, it doesn't. You have to bring. The website says bring the ballot in.
Yeah.
This is what it says on the SOE site.
Can't hurt.
Okay, and we can, we can analyze it.
I
It
just
says
checked it.
If
I
you
just checked
arrive,
it.
if you arrive to the polls without your vote by mail ballot, our office will need to confirm that we have not received your vote by mail ballot in order for you to be able to vote a regular ballot. If the office has received your vote by mail ballot, you cannot vote a regular ballot. However, if you believe that you have not already voted, you will be allowed to vote a provisional ballot. So are you saying, and I may be misinterpreting this, Joan, are you saying that it's just not going to happen because they will automatically invalidate whichever comes in? I mean, the vote by mail ballot could be in the mail, right, when you go to the polls.
Yeah, but
so they won't have a record.
What she's saying.
What I'm saying is that you do not have to bring it with you, but it is always validated. When you put your information is put into the machine, it automatically pops up whether you have previously voted or not.
I just read it for California.
If you sent your ballot in.
Excuse me?
Wait, let Joan finish.
Wait.
Let Joan finish.
Okay.
And then go. Joan, go on.
And if indeed you send your ballot in and it is received after you vote by mail, after you vote at the polls, the location supersedes it. But if the opposite happens, then the vote by mail supersedes it. If they're not sure, they will give you a provisional ballot. But the system is a real-time system, so it's up until almost that morning.
I was searching for Texas, but I got California. If you don't bring it, it's considered provisional ballot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's going to vary tremendously depending on the system you have. If you actually have a real-time system where it's in communication with Central, it knows whether they have received your ballot. If they haven't, they can let you vote. And then if your mail-in ballot subsequently comes in, it doesn't count.
Right.
I mean,
But you don't want to go provisional.
I mean, they can certainly eliminate any duplicates. So, but bring the ballot anyway. What's the harm?
Well, no, the issue is if some people lose it or it gets misplaced, and this is good to know, Joan. I was assuming, and I was getting ready to tell people, make sure that you bring it. Now you're saying it's a good idea to bring it, but you know, I would be ready to tell people don't leave home without it. Don't try to vote without it, because I was misreading that, I guess, as if you don't have it, they're gonna make you cast a provisional ballot.
No,
Get
that's not
bottom
the
line
case.
and let us know.
For sure, Michael.
Can I see you folks all tomorrow night at 5?
Yes, you can.
Swindon
Well,
Atlantic?
some of us.
Guys,
You won't
guys,
hear me?
Sharon.
one more
Hang on.
thing. I'm
Hello?
I'm on the website where I saw what Michael said, pbcelections.org, and it does say if you decide, to go to the polls instead of using your mail-in ballot, bring your vote by mail ballot, marked or not, with you, and then they'll cancel it and you can vote. If you arrive to the polls without your vote by mail ballot, they'll need to confirm blah, 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 in order for you to vote. And if the office has received, of course, you can't vote. And if you believe that you've not already voted. But it does say, bring your vote by mail ballot.
I think it will just make things simpler and
Sure.
easier. You give them that, they give you a ballot for the machine, easy peasy, simple, versus, okay, wait, go over here, we now gotta go to the computer, we gotta check this out, and all,
Right.
and that,
The way it happens.
and all of a sudden, the polls slow down.
Right, yeah, and June, you and I both misread that. The key piece, I think, is what Joan said about the real time. You know, they can, I mean, the words are, if, you know, if you don't bring it, we'll have to confirm that we've not received a vote by mail ballot. And
But
what
if
Joan
you
is
vote
saying,
early,
That's another.
it's going to be provisional because you could mail it later.
Yeah, but what Joan was saying and the way this
I understand what you're saying.
what would have to happen is, yes, you can vote real time at the poll if it hasn't been received, and then when it does come in, it's disallowed because you've already voted. It's a
They
real-time
might put you on
system. It's only
provisional. I
going to
used to
allow
work
one.
the polls too. It's
Yeah.
very easy for a judge to decide that you're provisional.
no, but it doesn't, the issue of provisional ballot only happens
And if
if
they can't
you
verify.
say you believed you've not already voted.
Right.
Okay, I mean, they're,
Okay. Robert Cohen got an appeal for money in the mail from Nikki. Don't do it, Robert.
hello.
You're muted, but yeah, I know.
Did you say from Nikki Haley?
Yeah, Nikki Haley, yeah.
Oh, man, she's a great rock star.
Hello?
He's an
Is that
idiot.
part of the Van
Hi.
Haley family?
Tomorrow night at Swinton and Atlantic, I
Yeah,
must tell you, I absolutely, hello?
yeah,
Am I on?
yes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night at Swinton and Atlantic, I absolutely will not protest or demonstrate by mail.
Okay. This is a
You will
real
be there.
time. This is a real time. Or it's an early vote early protest. It's a.
Let's show up. Let's show up.
Just show up. Okay.
Bring
Is
a,
that it?
bring
All
a friend.
right,
All right, see you
Kevin.
tomorrow.
Motion to close.
Kevin, thank you so much,
Yes,
Thank you.
really.
Thank
really.
you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, see everyone tomorrow.
Okay,
Hey,
bye.
Sharon.
Thank
Good-
you.
See you in
Bye-bye.
See you
December.
tomorrow, Sharon.
Yep.
In December.
See you, yeah, right,
Love you.
right.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
bye, everybody. 5,
Okay.
4,
Bye-bye.
2,
Bye.
1.